And now what I want to show you, again, it's how to do a galantine, that is boning out the whole chicken to do a type of roll that we call a galantine or a ballotine. Usually the first thing you do too, you remove the wing like that, and with those wings actually we can do lollipop. That is, you hold it this way, take a towel to hold it this, put your hand like this, and you break it at the joint here. There is the joint here, you want to break it at the joint this way, then put your thumb in the back and pull. You see the two bone comes out. Then you remove that part of the hand like this, which you're going to use for stock, and one of the two bone you can pull out, which I'm doing here. Now you're left with one bone, that piece of thing that you turn inside out to do what we call a little lollipop. That little lollipop, often you roll that in cracker meal, something like that. You can fry it, serve it into a beautiful leaf of cabbage, for example, Savoy cabbage, to use it as a finger food, you know, for a party. If you buy at the market the whole wing, like I have here, I will do a lollipop with that part, and I will do a lollipop with the part that I did here. So you see? But for our chicken here, I do all of this. So again, you break it, you pull it out, separate your bone, pull one of those out, that's it. Now here, I want to bone this out. And first, I want to remove that triangle again, that we call the wishbone. So I put my knife against it and pull it out. Again, as I see here, it is broken. Very often, the wishbone is broken now because they press it on the machine when they pluck it, and that break the wishbone. And again, as I say, be careful because the end is very pointed and you can puncture your finger. But the wishbone is that triangle which actually, even when you roast a chicken, right there is in the way during your carving. So it's good to remove it, even when you do a turkey for that matter. What I have here, then the wishbone removed. Now, the only thing that I want to do is to take the whole carcass out. I don't have to use a knife very much. The biggest mistake is to use a knife very much. All I have to cut is the joint of the shoulder here and the joint of the hip there. So I cut here, there, there on the other side. With the knife, that's about it. Now, since I want to open it completely, I start by cutting the skin of the back. Now I look for the joint of the shoulder. Lift up the skin, put your finger there and move that chicken like that. I know there is an articulation right there, I can feel it. So I put the knife right where the articulation is and I start cutting. I am into it now, but if I were not sure that I am into it, I would wiggle the knife a little bit and I would slide into it. So I do this side. You do the same thing on the other side. It should not take you much more than a minute to bone out a chicken. The thing is done both ways. What do I do now? I grab the whole wing, put my finger through the carcass, and I kind of pry it out this way, you know, until I see the little oyster. So again, here I pull out until I see the oyster. Do the same thing on the other side. Pull out until I see the oyster. Now what do I have? The front of the chicken. Don't worry about the fillet, we'll remove them later. Put your two fingers on each side of the sternum and you pull down this way until the whole front of the carcass is clean. Put it down again. Now you grab your chicken by the leg here. Again, you cut that little oyster this way. Bring the knee higher so you can crack it open. Cut through the sinew, pull out. Same thing on the other side. Cut the oyster, break it, and pull out. What do I have now? I have the chicken, basically the whole carcass, bone out, as you can see now. The whole carcass is removed, and here is the carcass. And what do I have here? The two fillet. I run my finger along the fillet here. Again, no use of the knife, as you can see. You know, my finger, that's it, along the bone, removing again that fillet. I have the whole carcass here. What I have cut is the joint here and there, here and there. That corresponds, that's for stock of course, that corresponds to those four bones. This is the place where it's being held, that's it. Now, if I want to use the fillet here that I want to use, there is that long sinew into the fillet that I want to remove. What you do, you hold, I don't know if you can see here, the end of that sinew, you hold it with a towel, put your knife flat, and what you're going to do is just to scrape it, you see. I scrape it, and now I have that old sinew which was inside the fillet. Then the fillet goes back into shape, more or less. This is done. You do, of course, the same thing with the fillet from Turkey or something like this. And again, we have it here. Okay, we put that on the side. Now, if I want to continue boning this out, I have to take the bone of the leg. So what do? I take the end of it again and cut all around, at least to be able to grab it, you know. But I don't cut much. I won't use much stuff. I use the side of the knife. Now, you can hear it. I'm scraping the bone. That's all you do. Scraping the bone. So I scrape the bone here until I am at the articulation of the knee. Now, I could cut the articulation of the knee, but it will be hard after to go on. So what I do, on the contrary, now I cut all around the articulation. You know, going with your knife like that, you go all around, and now that I have passed the articulation, then I start scraping again. What do I have here? The thigh bone, the drum bone. Where am I? Am I here? Now, I don't want to cut this now because the skin is going to shrink during cooking. So use the back of your knife and break it so that you can remove that and keep this. When your galantine is cooked, you can trim it later on. So we do this. Again, the same thing on the other side. Remember that when you do this, in terms of technique, the techniques are the same each time. If you do a quail, if you do a duck, if you do a pheasant, if you do a chicken to saute, if you do a chicken to grill even, or other type of, you always cut into the same joint to separate it. So it becomes very important. Even to carve in the dining room, you always cut into the same place. Again, I remove the wishbone. Now, the only thing left is the bone here, which sometimes we leave, sometimes we remove. If you want to remove it, I'm holding it underneath, and again, here cutting all around under the articulation. Now I can stand the bone on its own and press it down like this, as you can see, and pull it out. That really doesn't matter. I can flap that back into it. The same thing here. And I push it down, and now my chicken is totally deboned. I mean, the idea there is to have the same layer of meat all over. So I'm placing this here to reorganize Mother Nature a little bit. If you want to have some there, you can lift up a little bit of the breast here. The idea, as I said, to have one layer of skin, one layer of meat, which you can then stuff. What we want to do here is put a little bit of salt and freshly ground pepper. And there I have a stuffing of, very simple stuffing of spinach and puree of mushroom. What you want to do is to push a bit of that stuffing into the leg. Remember to stuff your leg here. And then the rest, there is hundreds of different types of stuffing, of course, that you can do. This happens to be a whole vegetable stuffing. You can do it with meat, you can do it with liver, you can do it with pate, you can do it with all kinds of different vegetables. Now, I have that layer, bring it around. You see, a common way of doing it to that is to sew the back, but I don't think it's necessary, because if you slightly overlap it like this, I have a bit of skin here that I can bring around, and turn your chicken upside down like this. Bring the skin here, cross his leg, and now again, I'm ready to do the galantine or ballotine here. You can do that at a pate, so now we bring that around flat. Make a knot right at the end here, keep a piece right there. And now we do that technique we call the half hitch, which is just this. But when you do the loop like that, grab that loop and make it slide underneath gently. Then bring it here and ease it into it. Just don't pull on it. Again, slide it underneath. You make it just as close as you want. You don't want to squeeze it too much. If you have a stuffing, it depends on your stuffing, especially if you have eggs in your stuffing and raw meat, because it will tend to expand a little bit, you know. So here is, I have my thing done. So when I get to the end of it, all you do is to cut with your knife, very gently slide it over. If I don't have enough skin here, you know, try to bring a little piece of the skin against it. And if my stuffing is not leaky here, but if it was a leaky stuffing and I would be afraid, I put a little piece of aluminum foil right there. You do the loop underneath to make it on top like it is in the bottom, fold it again gently and attach it wherever you start. You now have what we call un poulet en saucisse or a galantine. You can do that ahead and now you're ready to cook it.